We now take it to the Western Cape, where our reporter there, Lulama, is standing by to give us the very latest insofar as that picture is concerned. Lulama, good evening. Just talk us through the numbers there, because we do know that at every instance when the DA has been interviewed, they've stated that they're quite confident of taking the Western Cape.
Welcome to the Western Cape Results Operations Center. Yes, indeed, Mfundo, the DA, the Western Cape, is its stronghold. It is leading on the scoreboard with more than 88.49% of the votes being captured. But its percentage or its majority is not above 60%, which is the question that I want us to talk about tonight. That in as much as the DA is winning the Western Cape and it has consolidated its support even in this election, but it does not reach above 60% when you're comparing it with the ANC in the provinces where the ANC is in majority. Why is that, Prof?
Well, I think that's something that the DA would reflect on. I think most parties after this election will have a period of reflection. And you know, each party, they make particular strategic choices. They would have to reflect on those choices, and that would be both at a national level and in the different provinces. And they would have to look at the growth areas, but as you say, also look at the limiting factors. And I think that is something that they would do after the election.
Otherwise, you think it is possible that in future, when it's consolidating its support here in the province, it can go above 60% and be like the ANC in the provinces where it is in majority?
Look, actually, I doubt that unless there is dramatic changes in the province which they implement. So in terms of socio-economic inequality and the kind of issues raised by communities, because as you know, in this province, voters are quite prepared to reward and punish political parties. We've had 3 different parties in power in the province. So unless they do something drastic, I would struggle to see them going above 60%.
With 85.94 now on the scoreboard of the votes having been captured, what do you think must happen? There are some political parties here are celebrating because they have won. Some, it's a sad story to them. They have lost. What do you think should be done, they should do, especially the losers, going forward?
Yeah. So likewise, I think those that maybe had expectations and they didn't get a seat, they would also have to have a period of self-evaluation, a period of self-reflection, see what they did in terms of the campaign, that they could maybe do better, see how they can develop a track record of sorts, see how they can improve the organizational structures as well. But for those that won, well, for the DA and those in opposition, I think it's really important for them to listen to what they heard from voters during the campaign period. And typically opposition parties, they take on the role of holding the incumbent accountable, right? And that involves a lot of criticism and a lot of critique. And that's understandable. We do expect that. But at the same time, one would also hope that they would start to build, start to work together, and as I say, start to take more seriously the concerns that's been raised by communities, because we are in 30 years of democracy. And the types of concerns that's been raised are concerns that's been raised consistently over time. So it's not as though parties are unaware of those issues. And perhaps it's time that they start to actually then take that role of also building and not only criticizing.
Other participants that are bleeding during this election are the independent candidates. Zaki Matya in the Western Cape, a well-known big figure, an activist, but he has failed to perform optimally. What do you think happened? He was pinning his hopes on the movements What happened to those people? Do you think they did not vote for him? What happened?
So if I think of Zaki Ahmad's campaign, as you correctly point out, he had the credibility as a leader because he's got an activist background, so he's known nationally and even internationally as well. He had a clear, coherent message around anti-corruption, and he did have the visibility, even though he didn't have the infrastructure and he didn't have the resources. And I think it's actually quite a surprise for many people that he didn't actually get a seat. Now we would have to do empirical research to find out really what is the reason. But my suspicion would be that perhaps his volunteers, the workers, etc., had the presumption that he had it in the bag, and there wasn't maybe that urgency. Having said that, I would think that there would be many learnings which he would be able to take away from this process. And like I'm saying, the parties would need to reflect. I'm pretty sure that he would also reflect, and that we will get the benefit of that learning from Zaki Ahmad.
Thank you very much for your time, Prof.
Thank you.
That was Professor Cheryl Africa, political analyst.